Okay, we are live.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, Internet. This is the post iPhone 6 announcement show for inThirty. I'm not going to say the episode number. Why, Heim?
Because we don't want to get sued by that patent troll that went after Adam Carolla because they just got $5 million or something like that from CBS.
I do not think that's exactly true, but I think that Adam Carolla would come to our aid if necessary. So that was Heim Cohen of HeimTime.com. With me and quiet up until now is Paul N. Shapiro of paulandshapiro.com. Hi, Paul.
And search
One,
wildlife.
yes, one day you will get it right.
Well, I didn't even try it. That was.
I got it.
What did you say, Heim?
Heim was
Search
wrong
wildlife.
Exactly.
Oh.
It's not search engine wildlife. That would be like
No,
an
it's just
abuse.
search wildlife.
too. Search wilderness.
Search. Okay.
I will say
Either get the wilderness.
it does fit like the naming conventions kind of similar sites. You know, it works. It works. Anyway, okay. So Paul and I were the brave ones and downloaded the iOS 8 Gold Masters and have had them on our phones for a couple of days. As is typically the case, the Gold Masters did not require any type of special activation from being an Apple developer or anything like that. The MD5 checksums are probably going to be the same between those and the ones that were released. So Paul and I can talk about iOS 8 in a really informed way. Hein, you made the potentially fatal error of updating your aged iPad 2 with iOS 8, or you're trying to as we speak, right?
I started at 2 hours. I am now down to 35 minutes. So it's
Brutal.
been about an hour and change. So,
Okay.
the time is there. But
Our
remember,
listeners should
the
know-
iPad 2 was only deprecated like 6 months ago.
Okay, but you should know, or our listeners should know, that I don't think the iPad 2 was the one that was. I think the iPad 2 has been gone for quite some time. I think it was an iPad 3 older edition that
No. The iPad 2 was like discontinued recently, not like yesterday, but a few months ago, mainly because they were selling it for education. Everyone said, why is this iPad 2 still for sale? And they finally dropped it.
Okay, but so the 30-pin dock connector is dead as of the iPod
Yeah.
Classic leaving the site. Anyway, we're talking about iOS 8. It should be known, Hein, that your better bet was to go to a website and get the URL of the firmware through Apple's new spiffy content delivery network, download it to a computer, and not do an over-the-air update on an iPad 2. I mean, that's...
No, I won't be able to. No, I'm downloading it to the computer from their CD.
Oh, okay.
Whatever, Alchemy.
Okay. I've seen it can sputter a lot when you're doing it that way. In any case, Paul, thumbs up, 2 thumbs up, 1 thumb up, 1 thumb down, 2 thumbs down. What do you give iOS 8? Let's do it Caesar style.
How many thumbs do I have?
You have 2 only. I mean, you can count if you want to count your big. If you want to give it, between 2 or 0 and 4 thumbs up, you can count your big toes if it's that good.
I'm not hugely impressed.
I just wish that would I could just for a split second I imagine that making its way to Apple.com somewhere, just like Paul and Shapiro search engine wilderness.
Search wildlife.
Search wilderness.
Searchwilderness.com regarding iOS 8. I'm not that impressed.
I'll
Anyway,
give it between half a thumb and a full thumb.
okay, so it's like if you're watching, it's one of these pretty much.
Yeah, it's far too similar to iOS 7. They added in a few features that I haven't really even.
Well, you're going to get the
noticed.
Touch ID. You're going to get the one feature that you crave the most.
Yeah,
is that
I like
Touch
the Touch
ID
ID.
everything.
I downloaded 1Password, which now works with Touch ID.
No. They are my arch nemesis. Do not download 1Password. Turn them off.
They're downloaded.
I can't keep
Everyone-
LastPass and 1Password. I can't tell.
It's very simple. It's very simple. I got into an argument, and everyone tells me that I'm wrong until their password gets stolen. 1Password vehemently refuses. They all out refuse to
Stop
use
adding an extra
two-factor.
syllable to that word, but okay.
They refuse to use two-factor, and they claim that if you just make a really strong password, you're okay. And I keep on saying no, and everyone tells me that I'm wrong. And I go, you shouldn't, what's it called? You shouldn't have defaulted security. If someone wants to add a two-factor, you shouldn't stop them.
I'm not
Don't
going to
default
use a
to two-factor.
two-factor anyway.
Okay.
Well, no, but 1Password
You're
will
really
say
we're
you can't.
really we are getting off.
No, no. Last thing. We're only 5 minutes in. You got some time. So if you use your thumb, okay, that's the second factor. So by them saying they're using the thumb, then they're not living up by their all-out refusal to use two-factor.
It's not so cut and dry as that, though, because the biometric element of it, one, I think can be used effectively by itself, effectively becoming the single factor, and two, it's because it's in secure enclave, it's not so cut and dry that it might not encrypt the data based on the password in any way. It might literally just be visual access to it on the phone, saying.
But they've said no second factor. You just put in your master password, and that's it. Anything else?
I'm done with this conversation.
Yeah, this is like Sam's Club versus Costco for Heim. He's just not gonna drop it. I will say this: there are a couple of 1Password and LastPass both now use Touch ID as of the release of iOS 8. The same is true for the Amazon app, Discover Mobile, that's the banking app for like Discover Card, Evernote, Mint, which I think is nice, Scanner Pro, Simple, another banking app, and Lowe's.com app. I'm sure more will come out with it, but it works really nicely, exactly as you would suspect. And but when you see it, this really, I don't know, this seems to me like this really, really, really could have launched way back when. I don't know the technical underpinnings of it, but it's nice, right? It's nice to have it. Okay.
That's the killer feature.
8, or is this like iOS 7.5?
Okay. When you say, I mean, it seems like that, like iOS 7.1 even. Okay, let's go. I can read you down a similar list of apps that already take advantage of notification center widgets. So I don't know if you've seen any of those so far, Paul.
I have mostly through like Twitter and my text messages. Not too many third-party apps.
Okay, so Haim, the one who's blind to iOS 8, see if you can describe for our vast audience what the notification center widget. Yeah.
I have a feeling that when you swipe down from the top, if you have a widget installed, it's gonna, let's say Twitter, it's gonna show you whatever you decide to choose, whether it's your feed or your last 5 tweets, your last 5 @replies, or your last 5 direct messages. In Apple's beautiful way of doing it, you probably should be able to somehow swipe by tapping and saying left, middle, right will be Twitter feed, @replies, direct mentions.
So that is pretty much how it works, and this is a first for iOS at all. But yeah, it gives developers a little more leeway in dealing with Notification Center, and it doesn't have to be just purely reactionary and based on immediacy, where they send you an alert and you can approve or deny it. Things can stick around some and give you functionality. So the examples are Dropbox, which just lists the stuff. Duolingo is on board right away. It keeps a little widget that tells you how many XP away you are from ascending in Spanish or German or whatever language you're on. Evernote, Clear, iTranslate, many others. Paul, have you seen any like a sports score thing yet or something like that?
The one I have is the LinkedIn Pulse app, so that's their like news reading application. So that shows up, but there's not really anything super cool about how you can comment in line. It's just simply a widget.
Well, let me ask this. My big problem with Android widgets is when you get to the widget screen, every app, you have to predefine your widgets there. And there's no way to say, you know what, I don't need all these widgets. Please hide them. So when you're scrolling to find that certain widget, you have to scroll through pages and pages and pages. They're not resizable, and I think that's a limitation on the Android operating system, not the app itself.
Well, the widget implementation is very different on iOS than it is on Android.
It's really limited. And so in Notification Center, they collapsed the options from Today, Notifications, and All to just Today and Notifications. And also at the bottom of Today is an Edit button, which brings up quick access to any of the widgets that you can add or not. Look, it works, and this does feel a little bit iOS 7.1-y. It's not a huge thing, but it'll be nice. And I have a feeling that third-party developers and big ones like Google will be able to benefit the most from this, and kind of as they're peeling away layers of the onion, they're getting closer and closer to being able to access the core of iOS, that Google is going to be able to put Google Now in the notification center and maybe effectively take it over. So I'll list some other apps that have access to widgets right away. One is New York Times Now, OmniFocus 2, OpenTable, Parcel, pCalc, Runtime, SkyGuide, Yahoo Weather, because they were taken over by the Weather Channel and the default weather app. They probably had that in there, and a couple of more. So more will come, but it's not such a big deal. There was a third software improvement that I am blanking on a little bit. I'll try to think of it. That also requires app developers to get on board. Paul, have you seen any other changes that app developers can? Oh, the iOS-wide keyboards. Have you stuck any on your phone yet? Paul, you there?
Paul,
Are you muted? I think maybe we lost Paul. Looks like his video froze. Anyway, Heim. So for the first time, without jailbreak, you can have a system-wide third-party keyboard, and there are more options than I knew. This is on top of Apple putting the predictive text at the top of their keyboard. But do you think that in a few months' time, Google is going to have one just like they have on Android? You see something like that?
The Google keyboard, they always tout as being fine. I initially like Swipe.
They say the Google keyboard is fine.
It's not. They say it's a better keyboard, but SwiftKey dominates the market. Swipe came pre-installed on a lot of Motorola phones, and then when they upgraded, Swipe started charging. And Swipe was great, but they had this cost associated with it. So I stopped and I got SwiftKey. SwiftKey does all these promotions, and you get it free all the time. So I would say absolutely pay the money for SwiftKey. They do both, the predictive text and the swipe functionality. And it's really good, and you can put your own personalizations, and it's cloud synced, and it learns from your text messages. I don't know how well it does, but for me, I'm happy with it.
So SwiftKey is one that they unabashedly call them their cloud product, SwiftKey Cloud. It seems like this is a huge potential security issue if all of your passwords are going to be put in through this software.
Well, SwiftKey, you have to, when you say the cloud, it's when you're doing personalizations. So if you always type the wrong word, you can somehow set it to, when I do this motion, to put this other word in. So if you always, it saves your autocorrects basically.
So this is something that I criticized Google for. There doesn't appear to be, maybe I've missed it, but there doesn't appear to be a keyboard area of the App Store yet, and it just seems like because this is the first time they're doing this, I would like to see it really broken out because it's not an app. I don't even know if
How many keyboards do you really need? I mean, do you need a keyboard for everything? You need emoji keyboard and swipe and SwiftKey.
So, I installed SwiftKey, and I had used SwiftKey on Android for a while, and I never really it never really did it for me. I gave it a long try. It looks like it's improved a lot since I've used it on Android. I'll give it another try, but chances are I feel like I'm going to be reverting back to the default Apple keyboard.
Sometimes SwiftKey is amazingly spot on, and sometimes you can pay it enough money to spell the word like away or to or any like very simple words.
As I hear you two talk about it and how unimpressed you kind of are, this seems to me like it took a lot of development time by Apple to add these options. And this is really a niche thing. This seems like they are going out of their way to kind of prove. I don't know. This is cracking the door open on I think a lot more customization of iOS to come because this is. I don't know how much guff does Apple get by not having third-party keyboards up until now, and that's.
Well, I have on SwiftKey. I have a top row of numbers, and you don't know how great that is, even just to have that.
Okay, I mean that adding that as an option is a big deal now, especially as the screens for the iOS devices get big and huge, it seems like the top row of numbers is a nice thing for a third party to be able to do, and I guess iOS can be maybe for certain fields it can default to the Apple keyboard or something like that, or you can always switch, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's what
It all depends on the accessibility settings. So if you're looking for an email, I liked when Apple put the @ sign there, and a lot of app developers are lazy and just say standard keyboard, and they don't do the form fills right, and it gets very annoying.
You're right. I've noticed that, for instance, Capital One, when you have to type in a numerical amount, it doesn't have only numbers. But like Discover Card, for instance, who does have the notification center widget, when you type in a number field, yeah, it's only the standard 10 digits and a period. I just installed SwiftKey. It does in fact add an app to the Springboard, and then this is really janky. It gives you instructions that you have to read to then burrow through the settings to finally add SwiftKey to your list of keyboards.
But that's going to be all of them. That's not just.
I get
not
it,
just SwiftKey.
That implementation strikes me as not smart. So I'm going to try this.
You know what, like the jankiest thing was ever when you had to incorporate a bookmarklet into mobile Safari. You ever have to do that?
Yeah, to search the content of a website or something. I've seen that. That's
or
this
for
kind of
Instapaper or anything else.
I mean, it's much less janky than that.
It's buried in settings. I think it takes a while. I'm now giving full access to SwiftKey, and this is what iOS's default notification is. Okay, so allow full access for blank keyboards. Full access allows the developer of this keyboard to transmit anything you type, including things you have previously typed with this keyboard. This could include sensitive information such as your credit card number or street address. So I will allow it. Then I get my predictions. I'm going back into iMessage to see what it looks like. I mean, it almost seems like they're allowing people to do this, and they're scaring them away. I mean, I'm trying it out.
Well, because it has to. You have to say that. There's no nice way to say we're going to use your text to parse through with the robot to find out your predictions. Or any keyboard, you're going to have that. They're going to say this is not secure because we haven't vetted it. Just be careful, because it is a keylogger. I mean, at the deepest level, it's a keylogger, and Apple doesn't want to say that this one is safe unless they vet them, which we may start seeing soon. We may see. Oh, we've been talking about this. Apple vetted apps, but
okay. So
show.
Which was the? I noticed, by the way, that Google Maps somehow now has an Essentials tag in the App Store. But which was the one that Samsung famously had, like the fastest typer in the world? Was that Swipe or Swift?
Swipe.
Okay, so there's
Swipe.
So there's SwiftKey. There's Swipe. There are tons of.
Well, hold on. Swipe was the first one to do that swiping gesture. Then SwiftKey came along and added it. So it was a big thing with the predicative versus the swipe. And once SwiftKey added that, I finally made the jump to get the best of both worlds.
Okay.
Maybe I use Swipe, not SwiftKey on Android.
Okay, so it seems to me that this is kind of a cool thing, and taken in tandem with the widgets, and even with allowing Touch ID to be used by third-party app developers, this is a typical type of thing that iOS uses as the upgrade points, and a lot of it is just opening up APIs. Some of them but it also, I have a feeling that there will be things that are considered keyboards that are not keyboards as we traditionally think of them, that kind of can work in other ways and whatever.
So the first one you're going to think of is LastPass. LastPass has a keyboard, and that's mainly when you open up let's say you download, or when you set up a new iPad or iPhone or Android phone in this case, it will install the LastPass keyboard, and it will automatically fill your passwords. It's not a great implementation.
I'd rather use Keychain and sync it to iCloud, which then works in Chrome and Safari on my OS X devices. I still am not seeing where these third-party password managers come in. I also think that Google, who I'm not thrilled to trust all of my data to, is going to expand Authenticator to where, in order to log into Google services, you put your fingerprint on Touch ID. I bet you this is how it will work at some point with Google services. Maybe eventually, and maybe Apple before Google, but you will kind of do an Apple Pay thing to log into everywhere. As long as your phone's on Wi-Fi, you touch your fingerprint to it, and you can log into a bunch of stuff.
You have to remember, that's on the 5S and the 6. There's still a whole... I mean, you can sell an iPhone 4 for probably $100 right now.
Well, okay, but the point is that we're moving towards that, and I see that's where security is going. I'm not thrilled with whatever. Okay, so I guess where are we on at time, Haim? Because I was going to talk about...
We got 10 minutes.
So I should just throw this in. There are a couple of there's a lot of continuity between Yosemite and iOS 8, and there is one thing that was dropped at least until October, when Yosemite is presumably going to be released. The text message sharing between an iOS device and a traditional computer, but that stuff is working. I have Yosemite on a virtual machine, and have been playing around with it, and surprisingly, just by virtue of having my iOS 8 device on the same Wi-Fi network as the Yosemite install, I was surprised because I hadn't said yes to anything. I hadn't done any Bluetooth configuration at all. An incoming phone call, I answered it in Yosemite. So that stuff works. And if you, in a couple of months, go to the store and get an iPhone and a MacBook, I think you're going to be surprised the first time your call comes in and you see it on there. Okay. Paul, any other stuff that you want to get off your chest about your time with iOS 8 so far?
Hey Siri.
Siri should be surgically excised. I am not impressed with it. What has been your experience though?
Yeah, I don't think the improvements are significant. I have been using the Hey Siri feature, but I'm not sure if that's more of the novelty of being able to actually do that. Obviously, many Android devices have the equivalent of the OK Google, and Glass has OK Glass, but you can, when your iPhone is plugged in, you can now say Hey Siri, and it'll automatically wake up and prompt for a Siri command. Now, as far as the actual new Siri commands go, I'm not at all impressed.
So I tried Hey Siri in the car. It's plugged in, and my phone is on my dashboard, and it works even if music is playing. But I also did something else, which I guess I should be blamed for. I changed the voice of Siri to be a British man, right? And I think that means that Siri assumes that I'm going to be speaking with a British accent, because while that was selected, it couldn't understand a single thing that I said. So I went back to just a...
You read that from a rumor site, where if you change it if you say a certain phrase, it will automatically respond in a British man's voice.
No. I purposely changed it so that the voice was really different from Google Maps, for instance. Okay, and I have one is the Google Maps is a woman and Siri is a man on my phone, because keeps them very separate as I'm in the car. Anyway, it didn't understand anything that I said. I changed it back to just a regular man, and yeah, even if the dictation is spot on, and I was watching the real-time transcription of my voice, Siri it doesn't get the job done. It seems to be hanging more than before. It's not as smart as iOS 7 was at determining when I stopped speaking. And at this point, how long has Siri been around for? iOS 6 or iOS 5?
iOS 4. Well, it's the iPhone 4.
That was voice actions, which worked better than Siri in a lot of ways, but yeah.
No, okay, so then it's the 4S, the 5, the 5S, and the 6. So we're going on its fourth year.
It is not demonstrative of 4 years of research. I mean, it is kind of been treading water all that time, as far as I'm concerned. So, Paul, what have you noticed about the camera? And how about this? In iMessages, I think they made some really smart choices. Have you shared pictures or audio yet?
I've not noticed much with the camera. I mean, I've seen like the self timer and whatnot, but I haven't played with it extensively.
So, I send a lot of pictures on iMessage. I don't share tons on Facebook or Twitter or anything. And now, when you press the camera icon, it shows you your last couple of pictures, and then you can tap on one of them and then send it right away, or send multiple pictures at once, and it makes a lot more sense.
I haven't found there's supposed to be like a Snapchat functionality.
The way that works is that when you are composing a message, I think you hold the now the microphone, and that can certainly disappear. When you send a picture, I think you have to choose how long it's kept for. You can choose whether or not it's 30 days, a year, or forever. I don't know. I also don't know how to send a picture that self-destructs on the recipient's phone. But it's
well, we have the other issue. We're going to have an etiquette issue. If you send a message and someone replies via voice, how do you reply?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, the idea is if it's either a cute thing via voice just for the hell of it, or if it's because they couldn't type or something. That the etiquette is whether.
Well, then it's like listening to. Then you have the voicemail issue, but.
Okay, we should say that HealthKit simply doesn't work right now. They're punting it to the end of September. There's a huge bug that prevents it from working with any third-party apps. But HealthKit could potentially be, as huge as Apple Pay insofar as inserting Apple into a new industry and huge industries. Everyone has health or doesn't, and pretty much everyone uses money in some way. So these things that's a nascent feature of iOS 8. But Paul, what about any GUI changes? You notice anything slick that way?
There's nothing that's really jumping out at me. I mean, it's obviously there are some small things.
Yeah, I can't put this is sort of a pun in this case. I can't put my finger on any of the changes. I picked a new background that I really like, and it makes the whole phone look better in anticipation of me getting rid of it. But it works. How is the update? The more mundane kind of element of it, Paul, on your part, because we know Haim is still waiting on his. How did the update go?
Well, my process is not doing well. I'm not happy that I can't do it on the device because I probably don't have enough storage space. So now I got to download it to the computer, and they should have the CDN should absolutely be able to deal with this, but it can't.
I downloaded it off of torrent.
Yeah, so I torrented my Golden Master too, and then you did an update through iTunes, Paul.
Yeah.
So I backed up. I normally back up via iCloud. My iOS 7.0 whatever it was. I forget what the version number.
Oh, that's what we have to talk about. I was going to ask. There's an iCloud thing where you have to agree or disagree to, and everyone's telling me, or I'm reading, to disagree to the iCloud merge over or some sort of merging.
That's because of iCloud Drive. That's a mistake that they made, allowing people to even switch over to that before iCloud Drive is readily available on OS 10, because it won't be until it's 10.10. But what I did was, for the update, I just got rid of my jailbreak, and I don't really miss it that much.
You had an iOS 7 jailbreak?
Yeah, I had the most recent version of iOS was jailbroken and easily, and I gave that up, and I backed up my settings onto locally, and I used the Golden Master to do a restore, and then I put the backup on, and it happened ridiculously fast. I didn't back up the apps to the machine. Instead, what iOS does, and this is a little weird to me, it backs up, and this has been the case for a lot of versions, but it saves all of the settings and kind of app states to the backup file, and also the passwords if you encrypt it with a password. So when you reinstall an app on iOS 8 or after a backup, the settings are there, including like if your password, log in, log out, and stuff like that. So it worked. It worked really well. No problems yet. And for that matter, Yosemite went well, and public preview 3 is good. So all in all, this is a maturation of the platform. It makes sense that when they release hugely different hardware, they don't release the hugely different software, right? So iOS 8 is going to be a kind of a tame upgrade to iOS 7, whereas going from the iPhone 5 to the iPhone 6 series is a huge update, right? So we can expect that iOS 9 will be the biggie. I mean, that's how it goes, right?
Sure. I mean, you don't need this visual change from iOS 6 to iOS 7 every year. I think allowing the secure element, allowing the fingerprint to work is huge enough in and of itself. Because that's going to radicalize a whole lot of other stuff. I think that's a point update just in itself.
So this is not a point update though. This is a
or not a point, a whole.
This is an integer. I don't know what the difference. This is an integer update. So what you can tell us next show how it goes on your iPad too. But I have a feeling that Nathan is going to be the only person making any use of that thing.
Oh, that's okay.
So Paul and iOS, iPhone 6s for you or what?
I'm considering a 6 Plus.
Okay. All right.
I'm hoping for my my Nexus from Motorola that they're rumoring.
All right. So we'll see how it goes for next year. This has been episode some number, but we don't want to get sued, even though we think Adam Carolla would help us out. Thank you for listening. Do your updates. Bye.
Bye.
All right.
All right. I've
We're
got to
still
go.
live.
But